feeling in the pit of my stomach, just terror, like what's going on?
Like something was wrong.
And I see him just lying across, and his hands, his legs had already started turning purple, and he was gone. And that's just when we all started screaming, like, never thought I'd experience so much devastation and pain and things in my heart in one moment like that.
Grief is just such a funny thing. Like, while you're in the midst of it,
It's so real.
Yeah, it feels like that is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And 5, 6, 7, 8. Hey guys, welcome back to the Hey Girl, Hey podcast. I'm your host, Lori.
And I'm Kay.
All right, guys, so we'll just jump in with our enchanting things. Mariafe,
Me? Okay.
we'd start with you.
So I was in Portland for Labor Day weekend, and it was so magical. Even like just getting into the airport, there's trees inside the airport, and like everything
really?
is wooden. It's just magical. It's just so grounding to be there.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I've never been.
Yeah, me neither. I always thought I was going to move to Portland. Like in high school, you know how they'll have you do all these projects like, what's your 5-year plan, 10-year plan? I was put on Portland. I'm moving to Portland.
Wait, why Portland?
Because it's so beautiful.
Oh,
I've never been to
Yeah.
pictures.
No, wait, that's so fun.
Yeah.
Going off of the trips, I also took a trip to Payson with my family. We did like a little day trip. Well, my family actually went glamping. Like my dad has this camper. It has a shower, you know, a bathroom, a kitchen. So it's not exactly camping.
That's so nice. Because
Yeah.
I just came back from camping. I know I talked. That was my enchanting thing last week. Yeah. But we were not glamping.
I know you were really camping, like tents. No, that's not how my family rolls. But there wasn't any room in our camper, so I just went up for a day trip. And obviously, my mom and dad were there, my sister, her husband, and then my niece. And so we hung out. Oh, and then Kai came with me too.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. Oh, and oh my gosh, you guys! You know how when you discover new stuff about like your person, whether it's your, you know, boyfriend, husband, whatever. I didn't know he likes to fish. And literally he's like, oh yeah. I'm like, he's like, I love to fish. It's like one of my favorite things to do. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, I have a fishing pole in my room. You never noticed? I'm like, I thought it was for decoration. Like I didn't know you actually fish.
I love that.
Yeah. So he caught a fish. I was very impressed because there was this one guy by the lake or pond we were at, and he's like, hey guys, I've been here for 4 hours. Like the fish aren't chomping today. I was like, man, that sucks. In my head, I'm like, oh, I hope Kai catches something. And y'all, he was there for 20 minutes and he caught something.
Wow.
Like, my man's a pro. If there's ever a apocalypse, my man got it unlocked.
Me, Team Kai. Jeez. Well, first off, I'm so surprised that you even went camping.
Well, let me preface that.
Glamping.
Yes.
I'm so surprised that you even went out there. That's what I'm trying to
I was
say.
in the wilderness. No, we did a little just like day in a park or something in Payson with the lake and the pond.
Yeah, but there are bugs there.
There were bugs. There were bugs, and I don't do bugs.
Exactly.
Anyone who knows me, I don't do
Crazy.
bugs. Yeah, but it was still fun.
Yeah.
What about you, my girl?
Well, okay. I always like to count my chicks before they hatch. You know this about me, but
Do it.
I just got like a little gig to do live painting at an event. Yeah. But
that is so amazing, Lori.
It is,
So
and I'm
cool.
so freaking nervous for it. Like, I almost didn't send the invoice because yesterday they were like, okay, can you please, like, can we get payment set up? Can we get this underway, like, lockdown and all that? Which, understandable, because it's like a big event. There's going to be, it's like a,
corporate event?
no, it's a nonprofit, but it's like a silent auction, I think. Like,
Wait, that's cool.
and it's like it's like a fundraiser. They're raising money for their nonprofit, so they're gonna have items, and then whoever's there is gonna like bid or whatever. So I'm gonna be the entertainment, and I'm just gonna like paint as they walk around and stuff.
Wait, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Are you nervous?
Yes.
Wait,
so
how are
I
you
almost didn't
preparing?
send the invoice because I was like, okay, I'll send. So yesterday they're like, we get everything set up, payment and all that. And I'm like, yes, I'll send it tomorrow. I'll send the invoice with all the information on how to pay me and stuff. And I almost didn't send it today because I was like, oh, if I do, then I'm committed to this.
Well, hey, I have so many thoughts. That's why I'm like,
Yeah, did you have a question? I think I missed it.
No, I have so many things. Well, first, congrats. That is such a huge milestone in your
dream.
art, yes, your art dream, your art business. Like, that is so amazing. And I mean, you can't have your 100th event without your first. So, oh my gosh, congrats on this first event. And yeah, I think you're normal for feeling nervous because you care about this. And this is a huge step in your career, art portfolio. We'll find
When is
you
it?
like
It's in November, so November 2nd.
Wow. Okay, so you have time.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll be
cool.
practicing.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'll be practicing. I think what scares me is just the part where people are going to be watching me perform.
like the live.
Yeah, because I don't doubt my abilities to create art, obviously, but like it's just watching people or like letting people watch me and like judge me as I'm doing it.
Yeah.
That's the nerve-wracking part.
Well,
Because what if they're like, ew, like while it's in the ugly phase? Because as you know, Mariafe is an artist, which, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to introduce you.
I know, we're waiting. We're building.
The anticipation.
Yes,
But
you're welcome.
my good friend here, Mariafe, is also an incredible artist. And you know, like whenever you're creating works, there's I call it the ugly phase, where you're like, what's going on here? It's a mess. So it's that's why it's nerve-wracking.
They don't get the vision, but then it'll get there and they'll
Exactly.
be like flabbergasted.
Okay.
So cool.
Well, yeah, that's my enchantment.
Love it. What? I can't believe you've been
amazing.
sitting on that. That's incredible.
Yeah, well, it all happened just today, like finalized today. So
Oh, I feel you.
What a perfect day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How enchanting.
thanks, girl. Love the support, you guys.
Yeah, we'll check back in November.
Yeah,
To see how it went.
yeah, we have a couple months.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, guys. Well, I'm so excited for this episode because we have Mariafe here. She's my childhood best friend. We've been best friends all growing up, and she has an incredible story. So, is it okay if I just like preface it and you can jump in?
Yeah.
So we grew up going to high school together. Then we both left Arizona, went to Utah for college, lived together for a little bit. You got married very quickly. And then shortly after I got married, and then I moved to Arizona, you stayed in Utah, and then last year you just moved back to Arizona just down the street from this house because we wanted to be together
So
again.
so enchanting.
We wanted to be reunited. And obviously, like, I'm married to Brandon, and then your husband, Matthew. We all just wanted to be, like, this happy, like, couple friends, always hanging out, always going on adventures. That's why you guys wanted to move in down the road from us. And we had about a month there before tragedy struck. And I think I talked about it on the podcast whenever it happened, but Matthew passed very unexpectedly. This was last year. You were 26. And then he was newly 29. He had just turned 29. Is that right? And then you guys have 2 little daughters who were 2 and 4 at the time.
Yeah.
2 and 4. And you guys had been married 5 years? Or
Yeah, almost 6.
do you want to take it from here? Like what happened? Do you want to tell the story?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I just remembered like being so excited to move back. Like it just felt like a whole new beginning to life, and just being able to be like home again, and to share so much of that with Matthew. We were just so excited to keep building our life together here. And so we moved so quickly. I remember you were just in shock at like how quick we ended up moving. I think we made the decision, and like less than a month later we were here. It was so crazy.
Yeah.
We packed our bags, we just ran with it, and it just felt right. Like it was the time and we needed to do it. And it just felt so good. And one day it was an incredible day at work. Like we went to it was a field trip. I texted him, and it was strange. He didn't text me back that afternoon, and I was like, okay, like he must be busy. And then I texted him right before I was coming home, and it was really strange. Like on the way home, my kids kept asking about their dad, and I was like, that's so strange. They never ask about him. Like they were like, is daddy home? I was like, yeah, of course he's home. Like, and then yeah, just random things about him. And so I thought that was strange. But yeah, I was just comforting them and letting them know, yeah, this is what we're going to do. So we get home and I start making dinner, and I was in a rush because I wanted to get to this pool, and Mia runs up the stairs. She hears a shower. So she comes running back down. She's like, Daddy's taking a shower. I was like, okay, cool. So I finished the sandwiches, and normally I'll wait for all of us to like just eat dinner together. And that day I just had this feeling like, again, like, just eat your sandwich, like no rush. Eat your sandwich. And I think I had like 2 bites left of my sandwich, and I go upstairs and I start knocking on the door like, hey, dinner's ready, let's get going. But there was no response, and I was like, okay, that's really strange. And so I decided to call him, and I hear the phone ringing, and I look over to the bed, and I noticed the phone was on top of the bed. It's like, why is he in the bathroom so long without his phone? Like, that's weird. Like, I thought, oh, maybe he got distracted browsing the internet, whatever. And I think that's when, like, I got this feeling in the pit of my stomach, just terror. Like, what's going on?
Like something was wrong.
Something's wrong. So I just start knocking, and so I go and unlock the bathroom door. We had a key to open up, and he normally locked it because, yeah, he doesn't want the kids walking in on him while he's taking a shower, but he leaves the bedroom door unlocked, and I try to open the door. I unlocked it, and I'm trying to push it open, and I can't open it. And I was like, that's not good. What is going on here? So I push it with just like my whole body, my whole force, and I see him just lying across, and his hands, his legs had already started turning purple, and I was like, this can't be happening. Like, what happened? So I just look around to see if there was like any kind of injury, if he was okay. But there was nothing. Like, he just had a little bit of blood coming from his nose. And so I keep tapping him, like, are you okay? Trying to get a pulse. I was so nervous. His body was still warm. And I was like, I swear I feel a pulse. Like, I don't know if I was just in my head or not. So I call 911. I'm like, I don't know what's happening. Please help him. And they asked me a bunch of questions, and then I start putting 2 and 2 together as I'm talking to the operator, and I was like, this doesn't look good. Like, why is he already blue? Like, this can't be good. And then she asked me to do CPR on him, and I was like, no, I can't do that. How am I going to do that? He was laying down on top of the toilet, and he's a big guy, 200 something pounds. Like, how am I going to get him up? So she insists, and I was like, okay, I'm going to try to move him. Then I reached for his arm, and I couldn't move it. It was already stiff. And that's when it just like, I could not be there anymore. I was like, how did this happen? Like, just so many things racing through my head. And the next thing is, I can't let my kids see this. Like, that's not, I don't want them to remember this. So luckily, I get downstairs, and police come really quickly. Just a couple minutes after getting downstairs, the girls were watching TV, and so they were calm, like nothing's happening. And I called my mom, and she came over, and then I think I called his parents next and let him know. And while I was on the phone with them, one of the officers comes down, and she tells me, like, they've done everything. they could, and that he was gone. And that's just when we all started screaming, like, just never thought I'd experience so much devastation and pain and things in my heart in one moment like that. And it was heartbreaking to hear that, but it was also so heartbreaking to know that my in-laws were there and listening to that conversation.
Because you had them on FaceTime?
I had them on FaceTime, and to hear that their son was gone. Like,
and they live in California, and you guys were down here in Arizona.
Mm-hmm. So
What did you tell them on FaceTime? Like, when you first called them, was that was before the police confirmed?
Yeah.
So did you just say, like, hey, something's wrong?
Yeah, I just called them and I was like, hey, I just came home and I found Matthew unresponsive in the bathroom. I don't know what happened. I don't know if he's okay. And like, I was just really scared, and they're like, it's okay. Like, we'll drive over. Or I think, yeah, I think in the back of my mind, I knew he was gone, but there was just this part of my mind that just could not accept that. Like, no, he's going to come back. Like, of course they're here to help him. Like, his body was still warm. I just had all this hope that wasn't real. That's not happening.
I think it makes sense why in the back of your mind you were just like,
this can't be happening.
This isn't happening.
No.
Like, you don't plan for that. Maybe like whenever you start getting older and health issues, like, I'm sure that in the back of your mind you start having those thoughts, but not during your 20s, not whenever you have little kids in the mix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember just like, how is this real? I just saw him. I was just cuddling with him last night. Like, he was healthy. It was the weekend before had been Mother's Day, and we went on a hike, and he had been running up the mountain with our girls, like, just full of energy, full of life, never a health concern, just perfectly healthy and happy. Like, we both were at a point in our marriage where we were just like, we had just gone through some things that were really hard and had just overcome that, and just were really strengthening our bond, and just everything felt right. And it just didn't seem like that could happen.
Yeah, it's surreal, right? And then can I share a little bit about my experience? So whenever that happened that day, it was, yes, like you said, a Friday, I got off of work a little bit early, and which thank goodness I did. I think that was by no coincidence. So I think I got home like around 4. I had been home about 15 minutes. I was making a matcha, and then I got a text from you. But the text, I think, came through a little bit weird, which I think was merciful in hindsight, because the text said, were you voice to texting or something on your watch?
No, I was in the middle of the FaceTime with my in-laws, but I still wanted to reach out to you, and I was like trying to type while the police officer was there, and like just everything was happening all at once. Like, okay. I just could not think straight.
Yeah. Okay, so I got 3 texts from you, but the first one said, Matthew, jaw dead. And I was like, what? And so I thought that like I knew that the text didn't come through right. So I was like, what are you trying to say? But I didn't, again, like, I wouldn't have thought that it was what you were trying to say. So my mind just didn't go there immediately, but I think slowly my mind started going there. So as I was like, what are you trying to say? And I went back to making my matcha. I was like, waiting for your reply. And I'm like, there's something going on. And then you replied again, and you're like, I found him in the Barcelo. I don't know why it came through as Barcelo. I don't even know what that word means. And so I was like, okay, what is going on here? Because it started sounding morbid. It started sounding scary. And I was like, is someone trying to prank me? Did someone get a hold of Mariafe's phone? And so again, I replied, and I was like, what are you trying to say? And Brandon was still working in his office, because this was just around 4. He works from home. And I was like, hey, and then that's whenever I started walking from the kitchen into Brandon's office, and I'm like, hey, Brandon, Mariafe is scaring me. I think everything's okay. let's not read into this, but here's what she said. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's a prank. I just don't know, but I'm starting to feel really uneasy. And so I told him what it said, and he's like, okay, like, yeah, I'm sure it's nothing. Like, and he's just wants to comfort. But I could see that then he put his stuff away and he got up and he's like, yeah, what's going on? And so I was like, let's just wait for the next text to come through, see what she says. But maybe we should go over there because, you lived like 2 minutes away. And so then the text came through from you and you said he was purple when I found him, I think is what you said. And so then I knew. I was like, okay. And I was like, we need to. And then I texted you back. I'm like, is it okay if we come over? And you're like, yeah. So we jump in the car. We are speeding over there. But again, it wasn't clear. It wasn't clear as day. But I was like, okay, we need to just remain calm. We don't know what's happening. He might be fine. Like, maybe, he's receiving some medical help. Like, we just don't know. Let's not freak out. And we were both just trying to, like, keep everything calm and collected. And, like, as you were saying, like, it's just so surreal because you were like, what? Like, when you found him, because you were like, I was just cuddling with him last night. I was just talking to him. We were just on a hike. Like, all this imagery goes through your mind. And that was, I think, what was going through my mind, too. I was like, well, we just saw them, like, on Sunday. We just saw them last week. Like, whenever I had, like, imagery of him in my head, I'm like, he was sitting at our kitchen table. We were eating pizza. We were watching a movie. Like, I remember his voice, and I'm like, no, like, it's not that. We're not even going there. I need to just, like, keep calm. But then whenever we pulled up to your house, those police were quick because your house was taped off and, neighbors were outside. And I remember as soon as we saw, like, we just started crying, because we knew, and the neighbors started coming out and they're like, hey, do you guys know what's going on? But, you don't want, they're just curious, and that's fine. But I was like, no one talked to me. Like, you know what I mean? And so I texted you that we were there and you ran out and you were crying. And so then I was like, okay, we know this is what's going on. I don't think we said, but the results, I'm sure the question is like, what happened? And we didn't know for the first few days. We were like, what did happen? Was it X, Y, and Z? Was it, I don't want to tell more of the story if it's your story to tell.
Yeah. But no, like, my first initial thought is, like, did he do something stupid? Like, he struggled with depression, and like, that's always a risk. Like, that's always something at the back of your mind. Like, will he ever hurt himself? And he'd never try such a thing. So I'm so glad you guys were there to, like, kind of logic through it, because the dots were not connecting that he did it to himself. Like,
yeah,
there was just no evidence of that, but I couldn't think straight.
That's what we were all thinking. That's what I thought. That's what Brandon was thinking.
Nothing else made sense. Like, he was a healthy human being.
He had just turned 29, which Brandon's 29 now.
Yeah.
Like, what else could it be?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, whenever we got there and you were trying to explain what happened, because, like, we were so afraid to ask, but, like, you have to ask, like, what's going on? What happened? Like, how is this happening? And we both thought it was that. I know that you did.
I was so scared. The whole time, like, that was just the scariest part of it. Just, it felt like a living hell, just thinking he did this to himself. What could have driven him to that? Like, yeah, because you never know with someone with depression. Like, they could be having a really good time and you never know what they're really battling with inside. And so I was like, did he just all of a sudden have a really bad day? So I'm so glad you guys were there to just, like, help me think through it. And And my mom, she told me, she was like, he was in the middle of eating a sandwich. Like, she found a sandwich as she cleaned the bathroom the next day. And like, just all the little things where it didn't make sense. And that was just such a relief. Like,
Yep.
I just can't imagine how people can just like recover from that and not feel, because even a death so sudden, you feel all this guilt. Like, could I have done something? Like, that was my first thought. Why wasn't I here? What if I had been here and like had been able to call 911 sooner? Like, would this not have happened? So I just can't imagine someone whose loved one does die to suicide.
It's unbearable, because when I was there, even just as a friend, I was thinking those thoughts too. I was like, we were obviously not good enough friends. We didn't read the signs. Like, you know, for something like this to happen, there had to have been signs. There obviously were signs. And for someone, for friends that were close, we weren't there to pick up on it. So this is partly our fault. Like, and you know, like, grief is just such a funny thing. Like, you just, you don't think clearly, you think purely emotionally. So even just saying that right now, like, you know, we can logic through and be like, no, that's not true. But like, while you're in the midst of it,
It's so real.
Yeah, it feels like that is the truth. But yeah, that first night, and I would say like the next day, honestly, the first few days were so painful and so unbearable, until we were able to start looking at it like, oh, well, so he had a sandwich in the room, he was taking a shower. Like, there are enough things that were like, no, that doesn't really make sense for it to have been a suicide.
Yeah. One thing I do remember when I approached his body, and I was like, there's these two parts of your brain, right? There's the more like intuitive, emotional side, and then the logical side. And well, there's like 4 parts. There's like the logical, and then there's like the freaking out emotional, and all these parts.
The fight or flight.
Yeah. So all of these things, they were just like racing in my mind in that moment. And I, like, there was that one side of my brain was like, what did you do? Like, did you do something stupid? And then the other side of my brain was like, it was his heart. Like, something just told me it was his heart. Like, his heart stopped and he collapsed. But like, even though I had that feeling, the other parts of my brain were louder. Like, no, that doesn't make sense. There's just no way to logic out a feeling like that. But like, looking back now that we have the autopsy results and everything, like, they couldn't rule out his heart. So that's like a little bit of closure, a little bit of like peace of mind. Like, there was nothing, there's no drugs in the system. There was nothing they could find that would explain it. So, and it did get me thinking that day, like, was it his heart? Because I actually found out the next day. I was asking around, like, any health conditions, anything like that. His grandmother had a brain aneurysm when she was 23, and she almost died. She had to have surgery. So it could have, like, stuff like that can be passed down, and it could have totally been that, like, something like that is just so quick, and there was no injury. There was just nothing. So it just seems like it was just an instant death, which does give a lot of peace of mind, because I cannot imagine him suffering. Like, that was my biggest fear after finding him. Like, how long was he here? Like, did he have a chance to, like, call for help or anything? But it seems like no. Like, it just, he was just gone, and he just collapsed just right where he was standing.
So the autopsy results were inconclusive.
Yeah, they couldn't find anything, and
that's really frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really hard. I'm just thinking kind of what helped me, and the only thing that helped me in that moment was reaching out to an intuitive, and like just getting that confirmation from her, like, because she's the one that said heart. And I was like, wait a second, that's what I felt. So it was like, okay. So there was nothing else we could do.
So I know the story, but I don't think you know. Do you know? Okay, so I mean, whether you believe in this stuff or not, like it doesn't matter. But like, whenever you go through something like this and you're like, what happened? I don't know. Like, there were police there. We were there for like, what, 6 hours, if not longer, well into the early hours of the next day before we were like, the police were like, you guys should just go somewhere, you go stay with us and get some sleep, because it's going to be another several hours before they were out of there. They weren't going to be able to sleep in the house. So they didn't have any answers for her or for us or the other family that was there.
Well,
so
actually,
you're just like,
I think I'm the first suspect. I was the one that found
I was
him.
gonna
So they did ask me, like, they started interrogating
Oh, really?
me. Yeah.
I don't remember this.
And in most, like, I don't know, where the spouse dies, they usually think it's the other spouse.
I thought that, like,
Just a
I
theory.
remember thinking
Or
that, like, is
honestly,
Mariafe
just-
going to be a suspect?
Yeah.
But the fact that they just, like, let you, like,
Yeah.
believe,
There were
I was
enough
like, oh,
signs.
So she's fine.
But that
Yeah.
was, like, being put on the spot in the middle of that, like, just got me into a different world of what? Like, why am I being asked all these things when I'm over here just trying to grasp for air that I just saw the most important person to me just...
And that still, I have a hard time wrapping my head around, that you found him. Like, it's one thing, how traumatizing is it to find a body that you don't know, but your person that you love and that you know so intimately, finding them in a state that you... Like, the fact that he was even, like, his body had started to decompose, that's... I don't know how you processed that.
Hey, you guys, thank you so much for watching Mariafe's story so far. We're so thankful that Mariafe was brave enough to share her story and come on the pod. I know what she went through was definitely not easy, and so many of you can connect with her story. And feel free to share this episode with anyone grieving or going through a similar thing. It's important that we talk about these things as we're going through them, and I know so many of us can connect with her story. Stay tuned for part 2 that will be coming out next week. And again, thank you so much for supporting the podcast and supporting Mariafe. And we just love you so much. Thanks, you guys.